Purpose, la différence, applying knowledge on becoming. Note, as you have noticed through these articles, my writing is prompted by insights and this spur from periods of contemplation, and on other times from feelings and sensations when I'm actively responding to my environment. This article is a bit lengthy, so thank you for engaging. The map of nothingness, a perfect and absolute blank. I'm going to read from a text by Lewis Carroll's Hunting of the Snark, written in 1874. It's a poem, so bear with me. The Bellman himself, they all praise to the skies. Such a carriage, such ease and such grace, such solemnity, too. One could see he was wise the moment one looked in his face. He had bought a large map representing the sea, without the least vestige of land, and the crew were much pleased when they found it to be a map that they could all understand. What's the good of the Mercator's North Poles and Equators, tropics, zones, and meridian lines? So the bellman would cry, and the crew would reply, they're merely conventional signs. Other maps are such shapes, with their islands and capes. But we got our brave captain to thank, so the crew will protest that he's brought us to the best, a perfect and absolute blank. This was charming, no doubt, but they surely found out that the captain they trusted so well had only one notion for crossing the ocean, and that was to tingle his bell. Lewis Carroll, The Hunting of the Snark, and Agony in 8 Bits, 1876. Footnote number 1. The question that naturally arises is, does this poem have any meaning? Carroll denied that he meant anything in particular. The poem was all nonsense. But that did not stop people from asking him, and it inspired others to give it their meaning. To some extent, the poem is about the relationships that emerge among the crew and the interaction between this motley bunch of characters. Quote, to fight and conquer in all our battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. Sun Tzu. End of quote. Is excellence a virtue? Closing 2023 with the virtue of generosity, I am grateful for having given myself the time and care to really listen to my needs in ways I never thought possible. As I write parts of this article on Monday, November the 13th, there is a brand new moon in Scorpio, and it is my purpose not to only live in excellence today and tomorrow, but to make it the daily virtue for 2024. With generosity, one might initially associate it with giving material goods, especially to those less fortunate in the abundance cycle. However, I reached a profound insight with my Taoist teacher over 2 decades ago. Generosity is the space one offers to oneself, allowing others to be generous. In my words, I'll refer to it as being generous to create a space for feedback. Excellencia, to excel, to rise high, lofty ground. In my pursuit of high standards, I explore new perspectives and enhance what I already know is true, perhaps adding something special to my life. I gear towards exceptional behavior. After all, integrity is the core of my values. I aspire to master various practices, making myself of service with my uniqueness and creativity. The most fearful moment, along with my breath, knowing that only feedback is within, no approval from others, considering in all the things we, the people, do to be accepted socially. Obviously, we need company, but not at the expense of freedom. We must learn how to relate to our own individual truth, to listen to it. First, it will whisper, then it will scream, if left unattended. Speaking up these days is a necessity beyond survival, as old, stale, corrupted institutions no longer serve the needs of the commons and attempt to silence us with fearful tactics, coercing certain behaviors, or else we will ostracize you unless you act in a specific manner. We are demanded to perform like marionettes in the false pretense so others won't feel excluded. How has everyone been confusing the feeling of the sensations in my body with I will get whatever I want by imposing and projecting my fears onto others? Oh yes, Libra South Node opposes Chiron in Aries. The wound of feeling unique as an individual makes us vulnerable, but that is exactly how courage emerges and gives way to freedom. It encourages us to assert our individuality, the essence of the I am principle. We won't have the same opportunity again in our lifetime. It is an urgent matter to the individuated. It goes beyond survival. As a reminder that to thrive wholesomely in a relationship with ideas, situations, people, or things with the other, one must know how to be alone and listen to one's needs first. It is challenging, but possible. Give it a try. Quote, in the beginning there was the Word. Anything that will ever be manifested starts with a voice, your voice. Keep it sacred. Purpose and environment, vertical and horizontal parameters. How do humans evolve? Through hardship, challenges, hard aspects, epigenetics, through the environment. This will make it one where one strives for excellence, and regardless of the predictions, one can excel because the effort and the dedication are there asking as it's not the mere will that it is pushing and shoving. No. It is the inner authority that allows us to be calibrated and operate from its wavelength. We are all born with one that can be detected and observed, studying trial and error, but it can be tweaked to one's advantage for down the line that compromise will show up. Going with the flow and erring is part of the journey of refinement. Look at nature. Look at the things that seem to be static, like the mountains and the trees, the rivers, the clouds, and the ocean seem to be moving at different frequencies. Each has its own rhythm to harmonize between extremes, such as volcanoes and seismic activities that can cause so much disruption, yet they serve as calibration as the Earth is a living entity. So finding individual purpose, frequency, and rhythm should be a major theme in people's lives, right? Well, alas, it is not. Many folk prefer to be told what to do by outside authorities. Why is this so? One may ask. Well, the answer is not so simple. Habit and comfort, ignorance and arrogance, fear, lack of self-value, laziness. Overall, there is a lack of curiosity and courage due to an environment that could have provided this as conditioning elements. But what if one's soul decides to thrive regardless, in its purpose, resilience, provocation, control, and full of resources are the 70% of their imprint? What if their environment were the perfect setup to choose between surviving and thriving, between condition and making a difference? What if the setbacks were so big that at times the hope and motivation will feel bigger than life? Upcoming cycles. Time always marks the rhythm, with upcoming events serving as deadlines. One significant event is the impending Uranus-Jupiter conjunction in April 2024. Further down the line, once Neptune and Saturn conclude their cycle of surrender and initiate a new synodic 36-year cycle at 0 degrees Aries on February 20th, 2026, significant shifts await. Showing up, not showing off or checking out. Saturn in Pisces is the return to the source from the definition and Earth perspective. If individuated by 2025 or 2026, then their meetup will be a feast for the collective as more people can be one with spirit in their own unique way. The last time such a cycle began, at exactly 10 degrees of Capricorn, 38 line 2 gate, a wall fell literally and metaphorically, dismantling an illusion that had divided ideologies in the early 20th century. Uranus played a disruptive role then, and a similar dissolution is anticipated now, together by a wave of delusion and challenges in discerning truth, while the material realm is shaken to the ground. New opportunities to relate to resources, mostly the ones that come from inside, are emerging now. Tend to them. The forthcoming period activates our courageous capacities as souls willing to confront censorship and ultimate tyranny, striving to become free individuals contributing to a collective of liberation principles where individuals won't be dependent on puppet governments pursuing more control. In this major battle, a percentage of the population may choose either to trust the truth or remain oblivious, checking out in La La Land as the unfolding changes occur, a profound dissonance that encourages growth. In the current landscape, one avenue for building involves the Bitcoin stack, a strategy of saving in the incorruptible network that ensures scarcity and high value. Even with a daily, weekly, or monthly DCA, dollar cost average, Allocating a few dollars per day to this endeavor ensures that, as potential collapses loom, you have been steadily accumulating and constructing a financial foundation. It's important to know that this isn't financial advice, but rather an invitation to delve into the understanding of what money truly represents. Education on the nature of money becomes a valuable tool in navigating these uncertain times. The possibility of living your purpose. So, you might be wondering, how can I discern my purpose? There are various avenues to explore, and one method involves delving into your birth data. By examining the soul's journey in relationship to the celestial energies and imprints, insights into one's path can emerge. In evolutionary astrology, Pluto, the moon's nodal axis, and their planetary rulers pinpoint areas where this empowerment is felt. The sun signifies purpose, validating the self, while the moon shapes our emotional identity. Pluto represents a deep desire to evolve, and the nodes encapsulate past and future information as the soul navigates through different personas or identities, seeking breakthroughs while confronting or evading fear. Human design follows a similar approach, utilizing personality and design, sun, earth parameters, along with the nodal axis to determine the stage where purpose or direction is to be realized. This system also considers the type of surroundings or environment needed for the soul to receive what is most nourishing for its emergence, omitting Pluto from the equation. In the realm of Austrian economics, purpose is tied to how one values their own time, and decisions are made based on subjective axioms leading to a higher or lower time preference. The consideration of engaging with productive time is crucial in this context. Or, do I not engage with this productive time? Jungian parameters involve a continual observation of integrating relations between the ego or identity and the subconscious self. This integration occurs through the dance of projections. Shadow and light bring light to something that it is hidden, and the one projects onto surface and confuses its identity instead of serving as a placeholder for a synthesis. As I am still a newbie integrating the practice of biogeometry, I find it fascinating to combine both qualitative and quantitative notions that significantly alter perception. Acknowledging that what I cannot perceive doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't exist challenges the cognitive parameters of duality, encouraging a move beyond separation. In this case, unity exists in one dimension. The challenge lies in measuring or testing such unity, and indeed, tools like pendulums come into play, among other methods. Quote, Biogeometry serves as a design language, infusing equilibrium and qualities into the subtle energy of the environment. In this design language, geometrical shapes akin to a survey of the Earth play a crucial role. Colors representing distinct qualities carry unique angles, and these angles in turn embody qualities. Recognizing angles as component of shape implies that shapes essentially encapsulate frozen qualities. A design language that engages with and influences qualities for shape is inherently synonymous with quality. The resulting form is a process, the result of the evolution of shape. When you speak of form, you're speaking of all the energy levels, such as vitality, emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical qualities. A string, proportions, music, octaves, wavelengths divided by the same proportions means creation keeps the same ranges. The sculpture of space is architecture frozen music, harmonics. These notes were taken on my biogeometry foundation course, and I'm starting the advanced level in a few weeks. I'm so excited. Natural law and subtle quality. Life force, chi, prana, different terms, same essence. The environment we choose is composed of qualities we might be able to perceive or not. Calibrating ourselves within our own wavelength and finding a center may support the numerous challenges we face as souls to evolve. As of now, I offer ways to support whoever feels the need to reconnect with themselves through my astro, human design readings, or attending study groups. Even through these writings, I am connecting with my presence, being mindful that I'm evolving and therefore receiving support as well. I'm currently working on balancing the wound or attachment of codependency and feeling as wholesome as I have never felt before in my life. How aware are you of the subtle qualities that make your experience in this lifetime? Can you tell if these qualities are in alignment or they would need to be recalibrated? Would a one-to-one meetup with me be something to consider? Feedback. Where am I on the map? Still navigating the waters, this time with less ignorance, or rather, trusting others less to define the parameters of success as they all vary. I have noticed that I take quality time to observe my environment. As my inner authority, emotional, lacks truth in the now, I observe the low and high peaks, referring to how I am feeling, the sensations and what prompts me to react. Within this time frame, I give myself ample space for feedback. I grew up as a nuclear reactor with many emotional qualities in my chart. I felt that if I did not respond immediately, I was either dumb or I will miss something. It has been a beautiful process, and I must thank the time it has taken me to value this approach. In the nearly 3 years of Hakami practice, I remember I entered with the firm no, as boundaries or the lack of them were causing me to be extremely aggressive in all kinds of relationships. Throughout the process, I have become more welcoming, not to others, but to my own feedback. I have practiced giving my needs priority and truly listening to them. They have given me the value of the time I have left to live a life with purpose and freedom. Having been in companionship since I was born, I had no idea that I could be my own person if I were to give myself the time and the space. So this summer, I have completed a full Venus cycle since 2015. Venus went retrograde on my 7th house of relationships then, and this past summer felt like an Olympic graduation. I allow myself to keep opening up without sacrificing my freedom and authentic self. The environment in my chart, from an evolutionary astrology perspective, is colored with codependency themes. My moon in Scorpio conjuncts Neptune in the 9th house, and Neptune in the 10th house. Pluto in Virgo in the 8th house, with the balsamic aspect of Uranus closing on the 7th house. The Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter in Taurus, and Chiron in my 2nd house. Value, inner dialogue, essential needs, North Node in Cancer in the 5th house. Oh my goodness. Either I am open to really knowing what these needs are, or what? Finally, Neptune doesn't have to be so elusive. Saturn, after all, can be defining and supportive. On my 1st house next to Vesta at the end of Aquarius. My devotion is towards liberating my bonding relationships where I lost myself and started identifying with the other, sacrificing my authentic self. Homework done. In relation to my human design chart, my incarnation cross lies within the left cross of alignment, specifically 27 and 28 gates and 19 and 33, together by a 6-2 profile. Discovering the purpose of my nurturing soul is a continual journey, necessitating prolonged periods of retreat for the comprehensive integration of every aspect. The environmental dynamics I have attracted are highlighted by the personality nodes at gate 10, line 6, 15 gate, line 6, and the design nodes at 38-2, 39-2. These encounters evolve navigating challenges related to behavior, as personal identity seeks a balanced rhythm, both on an individual and collective level, amid extreme situations where integrity may have faced compromise in my environment. In terms of the design nodes, the individual gates fueling both my survival instincts in the spleen and connecting to the emotional solar plexus are driven by individuality. This leads to encounters with provocative situations that evoke spiritual callings, and the environment for lyrical art creation has been remarkably fertile. Through these experiences, I become acquainted with the tenacity to fulfill my purpose, regardless of the challenges, while maintaining a delicate balance between myself and others. However, I must serve as a role model by simply being, showing up, accentuating my authenticity, informing others, and initiating actions given my manifestor nature. What are your parameters? Would you like to leave a comment with your data? I may be able to write a phrase or two. It is clear, finding the main purpose is to allow the difference in each one of us. That is what can give you so much incentive to commit to the value of your time. Reflecting on the past 36 months, I express gratitude to those trusting me to support the relationship with themselves. It is mutual. I benefit enormously from our interactions, whether in study groups, emails, comments, or one-on-ones. Your presence matters deeply to me. Deaf to noise. The Sun, Moon, and Mars have just completed their journey through Gate 43, while the Earth and Uranus faced off at gate 23. These two gates form the channel of the freak, defining the ashna and the throat individual and melancholic, sometimes speaking out of turn or unable to listen due to the internal noise being too loud. Keeping it simple, embracing our uniqueness. Tomorrow, the Sun and Mars transition to gate 14, following our dreams to cultivate genuine prosperity. In the chart, the central individual secretary activates at least one gate in each center from the root upwards, with gate 60 of limitations, Pluto, Sun and Mars at the sacral center on gate 14, the generation of resources to empower our direction in life. Are you in the right location? Signifying great power. Earth at gate 8. How are we contributing radically and authentically? Say it as it is, unshamefully. Uranus at gate 23 communicates radical ideas, emphasizing what freedom truly consists of by speaking up. Jupiter at gate 24 constantly returns to find ourselves deaf to other people's noise, urging us to tap into the inner truth that emanates when one is in tune with nature. What are we bringing to the table as individuals? Let's not lose ourselves in the ground, nor in the crowd, trying to be included or accepted. Transits and lunar nodes are training us to be authentic leaders. Trust your body and recognize that your environment is crucial for thriving or just surviving. Examine your human design chart, look for the nodes, and consider joining a study group where observation empowers you as the master of your being. Reach out if you feel the call. While the node remains in the Aries Libra axis, upcoming gate shifts. Now it's in 42-32, followed by the 51-57, 21-48, 17-18, 25-46, before dipping into the Pisces Virgo in January 2025. They offer opportunities for closure and new potential shocking opportunities. Listen to your intuition, measure your authority levels, lead with courage, and be vocal about what isn't working in the collective. Find innocence in connecting to humanity from a place of pure love for our differences. Avoid confusing the external with who you are. Calibrate and center your being with the subtle quality inherent in all living things. Though it may seem bumpy, it won't be boring. Being a warrior means knowing how to take care of your own dominion, your soul. How can you show up with vulnerability and create meaningful conversations with yourself and the outside world? The two phases of time. According to the French philosopher Henri Bergson, time presents itself with dual facets. The initial facet, known as objective time, adheres to the measured time found in watches, calendars, and train schedules. The second aspect, referred to as la durée, or duration, encapsulates the time of our inner subjective experience, a time felt, lived, and acted upon, living in our own tempo. Bergson observed that often we overlook la durée. Such oversight is understandable as objective time, proves to be more practical. However, glimpses of that disparity between them emerge when they diverge. The essence of difference. Per Gilles Deleuze, who was heavily influenced by Bergson's concept of la durée, in his concepts of difference, there exists no inherent identity, and in repetition, nothing remains identical. Instead, there is only one difference. Each interaction represents something novel. Everything undergoes constant transformation, and reality is a continuous process of becoming rather than a fixed state of being. The concept of la durée becomes foundational in challenging traditional notions of time and identity within Bergson and Deleuze's philosophical discourse. I'm going to read the footnotes, and I'm going to say goodbye. So the first one is talking about the poem by Lewis Carroll. It says, the question that naturally arises is, does this poem have a meaning? Carroll denies that he meant anything in particular. The poem was all nonsense, but did not stop people from asking him, and it inspired others to give it their meaning. To some extent, the poem is about the relationship that emerged from the crew and the interaction between this motley bunch of characters. I think I read this before, but anyway. Second footnote refers to something that Stephen Beatty said the other day during breathwork. Number 3 is the Buddha taught that being mindful of the sensations that arise in your body without clinging to them is essential to the spiritual practice. And in the Sutta 36, the Buddha says, if the body is not mastered by meditation, the mind cannot be mastered. If the body is mastered, the mind is mastered. In the practice of body awareness, the focus lies on the immediate experience rather than on judgments about the body, the desires for what it could be, or the narratives about its past and origins. Footnote number 4. During currents transit in areas, we'll encounter chances to address obstacles hindering the expression of our authentic self. Number 5. Jung saw it as the process of self-realization. I think we're talking about individuation, the discovery and experience of meaning and purpose in life, how one finds oneself and becomes who one is. Number 5, I think we're talking about Neptune and Saturn. So it says the last synodic cycle began in 1889. Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Capricorn marked by the recession, the Persian Gulf crisis, and the savings and loan collapse. First quarter square was 98-99. Saturn in Taurus, Neptune in Aquarius, with the W2K apocalypse and the dot-com bubble. Opposition, 2006-2007, Saturn in Leo, Neptune in Aquarius, coinciding with housing prices peaking and the subprime mortgage bubble collapsing in 2008. The last quarter square was 2015, beginning of 2016. Saturn in Sagittarius, Neptune in Pisces, characterized by very low oil prices, China reaching the end of its economic expansion, and the conclusion of the near zero interest rate policy. In the period before, on July 1953, Saturn and Neptune met at 22 degrees of Libra, initiating the Cold War that lasted until 1962. This period spanned from the end of the Korean War in 1953 to the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. Following the death of Stalin earlier in 1953, the new leaders attempt to de-Stalinize the Soviet Union, causing unrest in the Eastern Bloc and among members of the Warsaw Pact. The prior encounter of Saturn and Neptune was in July 1917, coinciding with the Russian Revolution and the USA's entry into the World War I. The pattern reveals itself through the interactions between ideologies and structures that define our society. Check the completion of subscriptions to the Liberty Loan, Federal Reserve, and other historical events. I put an image there and a link. Okay, dollar cost average, that's the footnote number 7. It means making smaller equal investments on an ongoing basis instead of making a large or irregular Bitcoin buys. Number 8. In evolutionary astrology, Pluto's house and sign placement describes two simultaneous phenomena. On the one hand, the natal position of Pluto describes the generational vibration that a person comes in with, as well as the specific individualized patterns in identity association implied from the evolutionary past, the desires, beliefs, thoughts, perceptions, values, and orientation to reality itself. On the other hand, the natal position of Pluto points to the evolutionary desire, intent, or cause of this life as seen in Pluto's opposite house and sign. This is from the Pluto 1 book by Jeffrey Wolf Green. Okay, my little suckers, I am saying goodbye. I hope you are going to do well. I'm actually in a very good mood because as long as I have this creativity going, I am good. So, have a great week. Take good care. Bye-bye.